Hello and welcome back to my channel. So today I have my January reading wrap up, everything that I finished in January, what I'm currently reading, anything I didn't finish. I am very excited to talk about all of these books with you guys. So I finished 5 books in total in January. I feel like I started the month very strongly. I had a lot of really good books and then ended on a sort of meh note, but overall I am pretty happy with what I finished. I finished 5 books. I am currently in the middle of 2, and then I am DNFing 1 that I'm hoping to get back to, but I am just currently not in the mood for, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. So the first book that I finished in January was Dungeons and Drama by Kristy Boyce. This is a super cute, fun YA rom-com about our main character who is a theater nerd, and as a punishment of sorts ends up having to work at her dad's game shop and joins a D&D game that is hosted there and meets a cute boy, and this has a fake dating trope in it and all of that good stuff. It kind of goes on from there. I had so much fun with this. I rated this 4 out of 5 stars and just really enjoyed it. It was super cute. It was adorable, and I feel like for a modern story, this is one of the most realistic fake dating tropes that I have ever read about. I will say that I have never had a book made me feel old before. This is a YA book, of course. I am not the target demographic. It was just a very interesting experience. As for example, there is a mention of Weird Al making parody music back in the day, and the fact that our main character listened to Hamilton in elementary school for the first time. So that was an interesting experience, but overall this was just super fun. Kristy Boyce just released a new book called Dating and Dragons, which is connected to this one, but it can be read as a standalone, so I'm very excited to dive into that one soon. The second book that I finished in January was Heavenly Tyrant by Ziran Zhao. This is the sequel to Iron Widow, and this was absolutely everything I wanted it to be in a book, in a sequel. It was incredible. It was absolutely incredible, and I respect Ziran Zhao for just not holding back in any capacity in this book. I need more morally gray characters like this in media. Like, there is just not enough actual morally gray characters, and I have never loved and hated a character as much as our antagonist in this book. It was just such an incredible reading experience, and if you have not read Iron Widow, and if you are nervous about reading the sequel, if you have read Iron Widow, please do not hesitate. It is definitely a different vibe, I will say. I feel like Iron Widow is a lot more battle heavy and action packed, while this is a lot more of political intrigue. But I am finding that I love political intrigue a lot in books, so I personally love this even more than I did Iron Widow, and I loved Iron Widow. As you can tell, I tabbed a lot in this book. Just so many good quotes and moments and scenes, and I absolutely ate this up entirely. I am so glad I read it. I'm so glad I started this series, and I am so excited to read more from this author and for the next book to be released in this series. The next book that I finished in January was Gwen and Art Are Not in Love by Lexi Crocher. This is a Arthurian legend-inspired story. It is about our main character, who is the Princess of England, and our second main character, who is the descendant of King Arthur, and they end up in arranged marriage, and shocker, they're both gay. So it is our story of them just falling in love with different people. This was just super fun. It was funny, it was light, and especially just exactly what I needed after reading Heavenly Tyrant, which was a very heavy book. This is just so fun, and if you love historical fiction, if you love queer romance, I think you are going to love this. I rated this 4 out of 5 stars, and honestly, no major complaints. It was just really fun. So The last two books are where it kind of went meh for me in the reading month. The next book I finished was A Drop of Venom by Sajni Patel. This is a Medusa retelling with Indian mythology, and I had really high hopes for this. I just love a good feminine rage story, and I was enjoying it for the most part. But as I was finishing it and I was writing my review, I just kind of realized a lot of the issues that I had with it. The ending kind of fell flat for me. It was kind of rushed and a little confusing. I wasn't really sure what was going on. My biggest complaint with this book, though, is I think the pacing and the writing style. We kind of flip-flop back and forth from present day to about a month prior. We get a lot of past and present kind of flip-flop. And while there are some aspects that were enjoyable about that, and I understand why it was written that way, it kind of just felt clunky and didn't really flow super well. It was also just very slow paced. We get 100 pages in and we're not even to like a good chunk of what happens in the synopsis. And that's my other complaint with this, is that what happens in the synopsis kind of feels like the entire story. Like there doesn't really feel like there's much else to it, which was very disappointing. I did really enjoy the feminine rage aspect of this. I did really enjoy the Indian mythology and the inspiration from the Medusa Greek myth, but I think just overall the pacing of this and the writing just was not it for me. I just overall have a lot of mixed feelings of this book in terms of the writing style and the content matter and how it was handled. I was bouncing between a 2.5 and a 3-star, but I settled on 3 stars because there are a lot of aspects that I did enjoy about this, but it just wasn't an incredible book to me, and it was disappointing because I did have really high expectations for it. And the last book that I actually finished this month was The Last Bookstore on Earth by Braun-Arnold, and this is a sapphic dystopian about our main character who is dealing with the end of civilization. It is about a year after a major climate disaster has kind of destroyed the world and destroyed civilization, and she has been surviving and making do in the last bookstore on Earth. I rated this 3 out of 5 stars. I received an ARC of this from NetGalley, and this released January 7th, so I was a little behind on reading this and getting a review out for it. Overall, this is exactly what I was expecting it to be. It was nothing incredible, it was nothing special, but it was still really enjoyable. I think a lot of aspects were unique about it in terms of the bookshop setting and the fact that our main character is not a typical, like, you know, get shit done, I'm gonna like hunt and survive kind of main character. She seems a lot softer than a lot of characters in dystopian and apocalyptic style books. So I enjoyed that aspect of it, but overall the story was just very predictable. The romance was kind of predictable and what was going to happen. It's just kind of a very basic apocalyptic story. If you are new to the genre, I think this would be a great book to start with. It was light and easy, but just overall pretty basic, pretty predictable, and nothing absolutely mind-blowing or shocking. I did receive an ARC of this from NetGalley, so thank you NetGalley and to the publisher for sending that to me. The book that I ended up DNFing was House of Frank by K. Sinclair, which honestly breaks my heart. This is a sapphic cozy fantasy about our main character who has lost her sister a couple years ago and is finally doing her sister's last wish and going to plant her sister's ashes at the House of Frank. And I really wanted to love this. I thought I wanted a cozy fantasy, and everything about this sounds like something I would absolutely love, but I got about a little over 30% of the way through it, and I was just struggling to read it. I wasn't motivated to read it, and I definitely want to continue giving it a try. I'm not going to give up on it, so it's a softie enough for now. I think my biggest issue with this and why I was struggling to connect with it was the writing style in general. Just wasn't something I was fully vibing with it, and I can't quite pinpoint what it is about it, but for now I am DNFing this. I am hoping though that I can get back into it because I know so many people absolutely love this, and this just seems like a book that I would love. So it's very frustrating that I didn't absolutely fall in love with it, but I am trying to be a lot better at DNFing books when I'm not enjoying them and not pushing through. So now on to the two books that I am currently reading that I definitely plan on finishing as of right now, and that is the first one being Legendborn. I am about 41% of the way through. I am tabbing it and absolutely loving this. I have been wanting to read this for the longest time, and I'm so glad that I'm finally doing this. I'm doing this with a buddy read with one of my friends, Ashley, over on TikTok and Instagram. And yeah, this is just super, super good so far. I absolutely love the writing. The writing style is beautiful, and just the way that Tracey Deon like writes Bree as a character, and the social commentary, and just the writing in general is just really, really stunning and remarkable. And I'm very excited to continue this and to dive into the sequel. And the second book that I am reading right now is Lore of the Wilds by Analeugh Sbrana. This is a romantasy with fae and secret libraries and magic, and it sounds super, super good. And I'm just excited to dive into this because this is one that I have been really wanting to read for a while as well. And I'm only a chapter in. That is all I read in January, but that chapter very much intrigued me, and I'm very excited to continue this. So those are all of the books that I read in January, that I started, and all of that good stuff. Definitely let me know if you have read any of these and what some of your favorite books in January that you read were.